Hello students, how are you all? I Gurmeet Singh welcome you to CREATA classes and also welcome to our lecture series on statistics for class 10 students. In this lecture we will cover exercise 13.1. All the questions using the visual tool. You will learn our unique way of teaching. And also go to the description and download the complete formula list and all the other resources related to this chapter and also the other chapters for class 10th student. Check the link in the description. Okay, so without taking any further time, let's start with this lecture. Here is the lecture and best of luck. So let's take the question number 1. So this is the question. One advice that you can follow before taking on the question. In every question, a table will be given in which the range and the frequency will be given. Do not directly jump with the formula. While seeing the table, you will get the temptation that you got the observation, you got the frequency. Now you can start applying the formula. But my advice is that firstly read the full question. What is the basic concept? What is the understanding in the question? And what they are asking and why they are asking. It is generally said that mathematics is not having the practical implication. But believe me, once you read the full question, you will understand the practical significance of the question. Here, like in this question, it is given a group of students as part of their environmental awareness program, in which they collect the following data regarding the number of plants in 20 houses in a locality. In this question, a group of students is doing some environmental awareness program in which they are going to each houses in their society and they are asking how many plants you are having in your house. And further, we have to find the mean of the plants per house. If you observe on the top side, it is given number of plant. On the second row, it is given number of houses. Like 0 to 2, 1. It means only one house is having the number of plant in the range of 0 to 2. It means that house, that is only single house, is having either no plant, one plant or two plant. We do not know. The range is given from 0 to 2. Similarly, if you go to the second column, two number of houses are having the plant in the range of 2 to 4. If you read the complete table, you will observe that 6 houses, that is the biggest number, 6 houses are having the plant in the range of 8 to 10. Even some houses like 2 houses and 3 houses are having the plant in the range of 10 to 12 and 12 to 14. This data shows that that society is having many houses in which they are having many plants. Only few houses in the society which are having either nil or very few plants. Rest, that society is well aware of the environmental concern and they are having the larger number of plants. This analysis is not required to solve the question. But believe me, once you are able to read and analyze the question, you will be better able to solve the question and you will be able to build a proper mathematical mindset to solve the question. This is very important as you grow further in your career. Okay? So let's solve this question. Firstly, let's convert the rows to the column. Our first column, it will be the number of plant, that is the range. And the second, it is number of houses, that is the frequency. Note that what is frequency? Frequency is how many times our observation are repeating. Here number of houses will be the frequency. That is how many times our observation, that is number of plants are repeating. For example, in this case, two number of houses are having the plant in the range of 2 to 4. That is the observation, it is repeating 2 times. That is 2 houses are having the number of plant in the range of 2 to 4. Got it? So we got Fi, that is the number of houses. Firstly, let's calculate Xi, that is the observation. And what is observation? Observations are the midpoint of the range. Here our range is 0 to 2, the midpoint it will be 1. The range 2 to 4, the midpoint it will be 3, that is the midpoint between 2 and 4. 4 to 6, the midpoint will be 5. 6 to 8, the midpoint will be 7. Similarly, you will calculate the midpoint. If we are having the larger number, we will use the formula like upper limit plus lower limit upon 2. Here 0 to 2, it will be 0 plus 2 upon 2, which is 1. 2 to 4, it will be 2 plus 4 upon 2, that is 3. The lower range plus higher range upon 2. Here we are having a simple number, so we can easily find the midpoint just by looking at the range. It will help in easing the calculation. So we got xi, that is the observation. Next, we will calculate fi into xi, that is we will multiply fi into xi. Let's do the multiplication. 1 into 1, it is 1. 2 into 3, it is 6. 1 into 5, it is 5. 5 into 7, it is 35. Similarly, 54, 22 and 39. We have multiplied fi into xi. Further, we have to calculate the mean. Let's go with the first method. We are having three methods. Let's go with the first method, that is a direct method. The formula, it is sum of fi into xi upon sum of fi. We need the addition of fi into xi. Let's do the addition of fi into xi. We got sigma fi into xi, that is the addition of fi into xi, as 162. In the denominator, we have to find the sum of fi, that is the addition of all the frequencies, which is 20. So we got numerator and denominator. Let's put it and apply. We got the mean as 8.1. That is the answer. The average or the mean number of plants per house. So we can say this society is having the average or the mean as 8.1, the number of plants per house. Got it? The next part of the question is asking which method did you use for finding the mean and why? The answer is that we have used a direct method, and why we have used this because our calculation are easy in doing this. If the calculation are tough, then only we will go to the next method, that is the fi into di, the assumed mean method. If there also the calculation are tough, then we will go to fi into ui, that is a step deviation method. Got it? So the answer is that the calculations are simple. We are able to easily add and multiply all the terms, so we have used the direct method. So we have done with the question number 1. Let's move to question number 2. In this question, the distribution of the daily wages of 50 workers of a factory are given. A table is given. In the first row, daily wages in rupees are given. That is the daily salary of the workers. And in the next row, the number of workers are given. If we observe this column, 12 workers are getting the salary or the wages in the range of 500 to 520 per day. They are getting the salary 500 rupees to 520 rupees per day. 14 number of workers are getting the salary or the wages in the range of 520 to 540 rupees. Similarly, the rest of the table is given. 10 workers are getting the high salary 580 to 600 rupees. Maybe they are having the higher number of qualification or they are more experienced as compared to other workers. In this question, we have to find the mean daily wages of worker of the factory by using an appropriate method. Let's see which method we have to apply and how to apply. Let's convert the column into the rows. The first, it is a range. The second, it is a frequency, which is fi. Okay. The first step, we will convert the range into the observation, which is xi. How we do that? We find the midpoint. Here, what will be the midpoint of 500 and 520? It will be 510. That is a midpoint of 500 and 520. Either you can use a calculation, that is upper range plus lower range upon 2, 500 plus 520 upon 2. That will comes out to be 510. That is the midpoint of the range. Similarly, we will calculate the midpoint of all the ranges. 520 to 540, it will be 530. Next, it will be 550. Next, it will be 570 and 590. Got it? We got the observations, that is xi. Next step, either we can calculate fi into xi, then we can add all the fi into xi and apply the first method, that is a direct method, or we can go to the next method. Here the observation, that is 510, 530, 550, these are large numbers. You have to multiply fi into xi, that is 12 into 510, that will again gives us a large number. Adding all those numbers will be slightly difficult. So we will not use the direct method. We will jump to the second method, that is the assumed mean method. Why we are doing this? To avoid the large calculation. Okay, let's see. In the end, you will understand it more why we have used that. So how we approach in the assumed mean method? We will find one of the observation which is the middle of all the observation, that is xi, and we will subtract that assumed mean from all the xi to get deviation, which is di. Let's see what I am saying. Firstly, let's find the middle term of all this observation. Here the middle term is 550. Note that you can take any of the value as the assumed mean, which is A. Here we have taken the middle value, so our calculation became much easier. Let's see. Let's take assumed mean A as 550 and we will subtract 550, that is assumed mean, from all these values of the observation, which is xi. 510 minus 550, which is minus 40. 530 minus 550, which is minus 20. 550 minus 550, which is 0. Then 20, then 40. This is a deviation which we denote as di. Next, now we are having again two options. Either we can use the assumed mean method, in which we have to calculate fi into di, or we can move to the next method, that is a step deviation method, which we can only apply if the class size is a common factor of the deviation. Let's understand this. Here, what is the class size? 500 to 520, the class size is 20. If you observe all the ranges, the class size is 20. Like 520 to 540, we are having 20 numbers. 540 to 560, we are having 20 numbers. So the class size h is 20. And we can easily divide the deviation, all these numbers, with the 20. Like 40 by 20, it is 2. 20 by 20, it is 1. Like 0 by 20, 20 by 20, 40 by 20. We can easily divide all the deviation values with the class size. In this case, we will go with the third method, that is the step deviation method, when we can easily divide all the values of the deviation with the class size. Or class size is a common factor of all the deviations. Both the things are same. Got it? Here we will go with the next method, that is the step deviation method. Let's divide the deviation di with the class size, which is 20, that is h. So minus 40 by 20, it will be minus 2, then minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. We got very simple value like 2, 1, 0, 1, 2. If we compare this with the observation 510, 530, 550, these are very large values. We can also compare ui with di. Here di is still larger, like 40, 20, minus 40. Ultimately, our ui, the value of ui is very simple. Our calculation became very simple. So we will go with the third method, that is the step deviation method. This is the formula. In the formula, we have to calculate sum of fi into ui. For that, we have to calculate fi into ui for each row. Let's do so. Let's multiply each row, like 12 into minus 2, it is minus 24. 14 into minus 1, it is minus 14. 8 into 0, it is 0. 6 into 1, it is 6. 10 into 2, it is 20. We got fi into ui. Let's add all these values. We got sigma fi into ui. That is the sum of fi into ui, which is minus 12. Got it? Let's also calculate the sum of fi, which is 50. So we got sigma fi as equal to 50. Let's use the formula. Here a, that is the assumed mean, it is equal to 550. H, that is the class size, is equal to 20. Sum of fi into ui, it is minus 12. Sum of fi, it is 50. Let's put the value. On solving, we got the answer as 545.2. That is the mean average ways. 545.2. That is the answer. Got it? And why we have used this specific approach, that is a step deviation method, because our calculation became much easier. Okay? So we have done with this question. Let's move to next question. So this is a question. Let's take down the question. In this question, the daily pocket allowance of some of the students in a locality is given. In the first row, we are having the daily pocket allowance in rupees. In the second row, we are having number of children. For example, 7 children are getting the pocket allowance, the daily pocket allowance, in the range of 11 rupees to 13 rupees. On the extreme right hand side, 4 students are getting the daily allowance of rupees 23 to rupees 25. They are getting higher daily pocket money, that is the pocket allowance. In this question, the mean pocket allowance is given as rupees 18. The mean is given for this question and we have to find the value of the missing frequency f. If you observe in the table, this column is having the value as f, and we have to find the value of this missing term f. Okay. This question is slightly reversed in order. The mean is given and we have to find one of the missing value, which is f. This is interesting and such type of questions are generally asked in the examination. So you should have a proper hold over these type of questions. We are having different ways to solve the question. As we take down the question, you will see the various ways in which we can solve this question. Let's approach the question. Let's convert the rows into the column, the standard format of the table that we have seen for the previous questions too. Here number of children are the frequency how many times our observations are repeating. Observation, the daily pocket allowance, which are given in rupees. So the frequency is the number of children, which we will denote as Fi. Further, let's find Xi, that is the observation, also the class marks. How we find Xi? Xi is the midpoint of the range. Let's start with 11 to 13. The midpoint will be 12. We can also calculate using the formula the lower limit plus upper limit upon 2, which is 11 plus 13 upon 2. We got the midpoint as 12, that is the class marks Xi, which is also the observation. Got it? Here we are not using the formula, as just by looking at the range, that is 11 to 13, we easily got the midpoint as 12. Similarly, for 13 to 15, the middle point is 14. 15 to 17, the midpoint is 16. Similarly, 18, 20, 22 and 24. These are Xi, that is the observation. Now we can find Fi into Xi, but here the value of Xi is slightly large. The calculation may become slightly tough, so we will go with the second method, that is the assumed mean method, in which we will calculate the deviation, which is di. Got it? Why we are going to the next method? Why we are not using the direct mean method? Because the value of Xi is slightly larger. So to avoid the tough calculation, we are going to the next method, that is the assumed mean method. Let's find di. How we find the value of di? We will take one of the value of the observation as the assumed mean. Let's take the midpoint, which is 18. Let's take 18 as the assumed mean, which is a. And how we find the deviation? We subtract the assumed mean from all the observations. Let's do so. The first row, 12 minus 18, it is minus 6. Further, 14 minus 18, it is minus 4. 16 minus 18, it is minus 2. 18 minus 18, it is 0. Similarly, 2, 4 and 6. Got it? We got the value of di, that is a deviation, and these values are looking somewhat simple. So we will follow this method, that is the assumed mean method. What is the next step? We will find Fi into di. So let's find Fi into di. Let's multiply the frequency with the deviation. 7 into minus 6, it is minus 42. 6 into minus 4, it is minus 24. 9 into minus 2, it is minus 18. 13 into 0, it is 0. And f into 2, it will be 2f. F is the missing component that we have to find, and we are multiplying f with 2. So f into 2, it is 2f. Note this. Further, 5 into 4, it is 20. 4 into 6, it is 24. We got Fi into di. Let's do the addition of Fi into di. It will be 2f minus 40. Note that we have done all the addition and we have taken 2f as separately. 2f minus 40 will be the addition of all Fi's into di's, which is sigma Fi into di. Similarly, let's also find sum of all the frequency. These all values, it will be 44 plus f. F is the missing term. Got it? So we got all the values. Let's take the formula of the assumed mean. This is the formula of assumed mean. X bar is equal to a plus sigma Fi into di upon sigma Fi. We know the value of the mean, it is given as 18, and the value of a, that is the assumed mean, is 18. Note that here x bar and a both are equal to 18. This we can use to simplify the calculation, but for the time being we will not do so. In the end, I will explain how we can further simplify the calculation by using this fundamental. That is, our mean and the assumed mean are equal to each other. That I will cover at the end of the question. Further, sigma Fi into di, it is 2f minus 40, and sigma Fi, it is 44 plus f. Let's put all the value. Let's solve it. On solving, we got f as 20. That is a missing value. We got our answer as 20. Got it? We have used the assumed mean method, but you are open to use any of the three methods. You can go with the direct method, you can go with the assumed mean method, and also you can go with the step deviation method. Just for UI, if you observe all the ranges, the class size h it is 2, and which is a common factor of all the values of the deviation. So we can easily divide all the value of the deviation with the class size, which is 2. So in Fi into Ui, we will get further simplified value, which we can easily use in solving the equation. That is the formula of step deviation method. My advice is that try also with the step deviation method. You should get the same value of f, that is 20. Try it, it will be helpful in the examination, believe me. Further, while solving the question, I have told you the assumed mean and our mean both are equal to 18. That is x bar is equal to 18 and a is equal to 18. Using this, we can simplify the question. Let's see what I mean. If we take the formula of assumed mean, that is x bar is equal to a plus sigma of fi into di upon sigma of fi. Here x bar and a both are equal to each other, so these two terms will cancel out with each other. Got it? We got sigma of fi into di upon sigma of fi is equal to 0, which is sigma of fi into di is equal to 0. We have simplified the formula. And what is sigma of fi into di? It is 2f minus 40 is equal to 0, which on solving we got f is equal to 20. Just we have simplified our calculations. Got it? Similarly, if we use the step deviation method, this formula, here also x bar and a will cancel out with each other, and we got this term is equal to 0, which on solving we got sigma of fi into ui into h is equal to 0. Here also we have simplified the formula. So these type of small hints you should observe in the question so that your calculation became much faster. How this will be possible? Just observing the questions and answers in very detail. If you are totally aware of what you are doing, what is given in the question, how you are approaching, you will observe all this simple calculation. You will observe all these simple tips and you can easily solve the question. Got it? It will be really helpful in the mid of the examination. So we have done with this question. Let's move to next question. So this is a question. In this question, 30 women were examined in a hospital by a doctor, and the number of heartbeats per minute are recorded and summarized as given in the table. If you check out the first row, we are having the number of heartbeats per minute for those 30 women, the 30 patients. In the second row, we are having the number of women. That is, the two women are having their heartbeat in the range of 65 to 68. On the extreme right, we are having two women who are having the heartbeat in the range of 83 to 86. Note that observing the table is very important. Here, if you observe the total heartbeats, the range is from 65 to 86. The lowest heartbeat is in the range of 65 and the maximum heartbeat is in the range of 86. And in this question, we have to find the mean. It means the mean will be somewhere in between 65 to 86. Got it? If your mean is exceeding 86 or it is below 65, then it means the answer is wrong. The mean should be between the minimum and the maximum range. That is somewhere in between the minimum and the maximum range. Got it? These type of small observation you should observe in the question before starting with the formulas. Got it? So let's approach this question. Let's convert the rows into the column. Here we have to find the mean of the heartbeat per minute for these women. Okay. The number of women are given. It means the frequency is given. Frequency, it is Fi, how many times our observation are repeating. So frequency Fi is given in this question. Further, our next step, we will find Xi, that is the observation. And how we find the observation, that is Xi? We find the midpoint of the range. Here our range, for example, 65 to 68. What will be the middle point of this range? It will be 66.5. Okay, the midpoint of 65 and 68, it is 66.5. We can also use the formula to get the midpoint, which is lower range plus upper range upon 2. So 65 plus 68 upon 2, it will be 66.5. Similarly, for 68 to 71, the midpoint it will be 69.5. You can use the formula. Further, the midpoint of 71 to 74 it is 72.5. Similarly, 75.5, 78.5, 81.5 and 84.5. So these all are the midpoints, that is observation, which is xi. Here we can use the first method, that is the direct method, in which we can find fi into xi. But here we will not use the direct method. Why? Because if we use the direct method, we have to multiply fi and xi, and the value of xi is big. If we do the calculation, the data will be large, the calculation will be complex. To avoid all this tough calculation or the big calculation, we will not go with the direct method. We will go with the next method, that is the assumed mean method, in which we calculate the deviation. Got it? This approach we will use. We will go to the next method, that is the assumed mean method. So let's find the deviation. How we find the deviation? We assume any of the observation as the assumed mean, specifically the middle point. Of all these observations, 75.5 is the middle point. So we will assume this as the assumed mean, and we will subtract this assumed mean from all the given values of the observation. Got it? We have just assumed 75.5 as the assumed mean, but you are open to use any of the value as assumed mean. The answer will not change. Got it? So we got the value of the deviation as -9, -6, -3, 0, 3, 6 and 9. Now we are having two options, either to use the assume mean method or to go with the step deviation method, which is the next method in which we have to calculate ui. How we decide whether we have to go with the assume mean method or the step deviation method? We see the class interval in the range. If you refer all these intervals, the class size is 3. That is the range of the class interval 65 to 68. We are having three numbers. 68 minus 65, it is 3. So here class size is 3. We check whether all the values of the deviation we can divide with the class size. That is the class size is a common factor in the deviation? If it is yes, we move to the next method, that is the step deviation method. So here if you observe 3, we can divide all this value of the deviation with 3. 9 by 3 it is 3. All these values we can divide with 3. So we will go with the next method, which is the step deviation method. So what we do in the step deviation method? We add one more column, which is ui. We divide deviation with the class size. Okay. Here we will divide all these values of the deviation with the 3, which is the class size. We got -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. These all are the values of ui. Got it? Now we can easily apply the formula of step deviation method, which is this formula. In this formula we have to calculate sum of fi into ui and also the sum of fi. For that we have to add one more column, which is fi into ui. Here we will multiply fi and ui. Let's do so. 2 into -3 it is -6, 4 into -2 it is -8, 3 into -1 it is -3, next it is 0, 7, 8 and 6. So we got fi into ui. So let's add all this value. We got sigma of fi into ui as 4 and sigma of fi it is 30. No need to add all these values of fi. If you refer in the question, it is given 30 women were examined in the hospital. So the number of women it is 30, that is sum of all the women, it will be 30. Got it? And what is A? That is the assumed mean, it is 75.5. And H, that is the class size, it is 3. Let's put the value, let's solve it. We got our answer, that is mean as 75.9. This is the answer. The mean heartbeats per minute is 75.9. Have you observed that our mean, that is our answer, lies between the minimum to maximum range, between 65 to 86, the same thing we have observed at the starting of the question. If our mean is exceeding 86 or it is below 65, then our answer is wrong. It should be somewhere between these minimum and maximum ranges. Got it? We got our answer as 75.9. So we have done with this question. Let's move to next question. This question is very important, so pay your full attention. It will be interesting. In this question, in a retail market, fruit vendors were selling mangoes in the packing boxes, and the data is given with respect to the number of boxes and the number of mangoes. For example, if you observe this column, 15 number of boxes are having the number of mangoes in the range of 50 to 52. Similarly, if you check the extreme right, 25 boxes are having the mangoes in the range of 62 to 64. The different boxes are having different number of mangoes, and in this question we have to calculate the mean number of mangoes kept in a packing box. And which method of finding the mean did you choose? We have to explain which method we will use. Okay, so let's take down the question. Let's convert the rows into the column. We got our standard table. Before proceeding further, a small question for you. In this given range, are you able to find any error? This is our fifth question. You have done 4 questions. In comparison to all the 4 questions, is there anything different are you observing in this range? Take some time, observe, refer the previous 4 questions, just the data, and tell me what is the error, what is the difference with respect to the other 4 questions. This is very important. Okay, let's check your level of observation. Take some time, pause the video, then come back. So welcome back. Hope you have got that error. Let's see what is the difference with respect to the other 4 questions. If you observe this cell, it is given 50 to 52, and in the next cell it is given as 53 to 55. The data from 52 to 53 is missing. If you have covered our theory lecture in which I have told you 50 to 52, it means the range is from 50 to 52 and 52 is not included. 53 to 55, it means it is from 53 to 55 and 55 is not included. The upper range in the statistics are not included in the range. The same concept we have covered in the theory part. So here if you observe 50 to 52 is given and 52 to 53 is missing. Similarly from 55 to 56 it is missing, 58 to 59 it is missing, and from 61 to 62 it is missing. Let's try to understand this on a number line. Let's take a number line and let's have the number from 49 to 65 just for reference. These all are the number of mangoes. In the first case, 50 to 52 mangoes are in the number of boxes 15. So what is the range 50 to 52? This will be the range from 50 to 52. 52 is not included, so I have just kept the line slightly below 52. It is from 50 to 52 and 52 is not included. Similarly, 50 to 53 will be this range, 56 to 58 will be this range, 59 to 61 will be this range, and 60 to 64 will be this range. All these middle part are missing. In the statistics, whenever we apply all this mean formula, the direct method, the assumed mean method, the step deviation method, the upper limit of the first row should match with the lower limit of the second row. In all the previous question, you have observed that the upper range of the first row is matching with the lower range of the second row. Basically, it means that we should not have any of the missing value. We should not have any of the gap. So how we solve this question? We will just increase the upper range by certain range, for example 0.5, and also decrease the lower range by 0.5. Let's see what happens. Firstly, let's increase the upper range of all these cases by 0.5 and also decrease the lower range of all these cases by 0.5. Now we got a complete case in which we are not having the gaps. Got it? For the first case, we got the range as 49.5 to 52.5. We have decreased the range by 0.5 and increased the range by 0.5. Similarly, the second range, it will be 52.5 to 55.5. Similarly, we have done for all the cases. Note that this will not affect anything on the data. Our data, the entity of the data will remain the same. For example, 15 boxes are having the number of mangoes in the range of 50 to 52. Got it? Now, can we say that 15 number of boxes are having the number of mangoes in the range of 49.5 to 52.5? Nothing is changed. The number of boxes are same and the number of mangoes are also same. It is only the range. So our data entity is not changed. Our data is same. Just we have played with the range. Got it? Just to enhance the example, we are having a box with 20 mangoes. We can say the range of mango in that box is between 10 to 30. Or we can say the range of mangoes in this box is from 5 to 35. Or the range of mango in this box is from 0 to 40. All these cases are true, the data is true, nothing is changed. Just we have played with the range. The number of mango in this box is 20. Okay, only we have played with the range. These type of questions are slightly twisted question and you should know this approach how to solve the question. You have to play with the range. Got it? Now we got our normal table with the number of mangoes and the number of boxes. Here the number of boxes are the frequency. That is how many times our observation are repeating. That is frequency, which is Fi. Let's apply the simple mean method to solve this question. Firstly, let's find xi, which is the midpoint of the observation, which is the range. So what is the midpoint of 49.5 to 52.5? It is 51. As usual, we can also use the formula lower limit plus upper limit upon 2, which is 49.5 plus 52.5 upon 2. Our answer is 51, which is the midpoint. Got it? Similarly, the midpoint of second range, it is 54, next 57, next 60 and 63. These all are the values of xi and all these values are looking slightly big. So we will go to the next method, that is the assumed mean method. And what we do in the assumed mean method, we find the deviation. But what is the first step? The first step is finding the assumed mean. Here if you observe all this xi value, the middle point is 57, which we generally denote as the assumed mean. That is A. We got A as the assumed mean and we subtract this assumed mean from all the values of the observation, which is xi, to get deviation, which is di. On solving, we got all the values of di as -6, -3, 0, 3 and 6. Here again we are having two options, either to go with the assumed mean method in which we calculate Fi into di, or we can go with the step deviation method. And how we check in which method we have to do? We see the class size. Here if you observe the class size in all these cases, that is h, the class size is coming as 3. That is 52.5 minus 49.5, the range, it is 3. So we got h as 3. And further, this 3 we can divide all the values of the deviation with 3. That is 3 is a common factor of the deviation. So we will proceed with the next method. That is step deviation method. Why? To simplify the calculation. Nothing special, you can apply the assumed mean method also, but here we are going with the step deviation method to further simplify the calculation. You can go with any method, the answer will remain the same. We are searching for the simplified method. Okay. So let's add one more column ui. Let's divide all the values of the deviation with the class size, which is h, which is 3. So let's divide all the values of the deviation by 3. We got -2, -1, 0, 1 and 2. So we got all the values of the ui. So let's find Fi into ui. Let's multiply Fi with ui. In the first row, 15 into -2, it is -30. 100 into -1, it is -100. 135 into 0, it is 0. Next, it is 115 and 50. So we have multiplied Fi with ui. Let's do the addition to get sigma Fi into ui, which is 25. And let's add all the values of Fi, which is 400. Okay. We got all the values. Let's use the formula of step deviation method. Here A is 57 and H is 3. Let's put the value. Let's solve it. We got the mean, that is mean number of boxes as 57.19. That is the answer of the question. And next part, why we have used this? to get the calculation as easier. Okay, nothing special. So we have done with this question. Let's move to next question. In this question, a table is given which shows the daily expenditure on food of 25 households in a locality. A survey is done on the locality and a table we got for the daily expenditure on the food. For example, if we talk about this column, four number of households are expending around 100 to 150 rupees on the food expenditure daily. On the extreme right, we are having two number of households which are spending around 300 to 350, which is on the larger side. And in this question, we have to find the mean of the daily expenditure on food by a suitable method. So let's approach this question. Firstly, let's convert all the rows to the column to get our standard table. Here, if you observe the table, we are having the range, that is the daily expenditure, and we are having the number of household, which is the frequency. The number of household is the frequency, how many times our observations are repeating. So we got Fi, the frequency. Further, the next step, we will find Xi, that is the observation. How we find Xi? We find the midpoint of the range. Here range is from 100 to 150, the midpoint is 125. The range 150 to 200, the midpoint is 175. Further, it is 225, 275 and 325. We have simply located the midpoint of the range to get the observation, which is Xi. Now we are having two options, either to go with the direct method in which we calculate Fi into Xi. But here if we observe, the value of Xi is much larger. So the calculation will become tough and the data will be large. So we will not go with the direct method. We will go to the next method, which is the assumed mean method. And what is assumed mean method? What are the steps? In this, the first step is to calculate or locate the assumed mean out of all these values of the observation. Generally, we take the middle number. Let's assume 225 as the assumed mean, that is A. Note that we are open to take any other value of the observation as the assumed mean. The answer will not change. Here we are taking the middle number just for simplicity. Okay. The next step is to find the deviation. Deviation we get by subtracting all these values of the observation with the assumed mean. So let's do the calculation. We got minus 100, minus 50, 0, 50 and 100. So we got di. We can find Fi into di and we can apply the assumed mean method. Again, we are having two options, either to go with the assumed mean method or to go to the next method, that is the step deviation method. The criteria is finding the class size. Okay. Here, if you observe the range, the class size in all these ranges is 50. Like 150 minus 100, it is 50. The range, the class size in all these ranges 50. We have to check whether we can divide all these values of the deviation with the class size. Yes, we can divide all these values of the deviation with the class size. So we will go with the step deviation method, which is the next method. And we will calculate UI, which is deviation upon class size. Let's divide all the values of the deviation with the class size, which is 50. We got the values as minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. We got UI. Let's add one more column, which is Fi into UI. Let's multiply frequency with the UI. 4 into minus 2, it is minus 8. 5 into minus 1, it is minus 5. Similarly, 0, 2 and 4. Let's add all the values of Fi into Ui to get sum of Fi into Ui, which is minus 7. Okay. Let's also calculate sigma of Fi, that is addition of all the values of frequency, which is given as 25 households in the question. You can add also, you will get the answer as 25, that is sigma Fi. Let's use the formula of step deviation method, which is this formula. Here A, that is the assumed mean, we have assumed as 225, the middle value. Further, the class size H, it is 50. Let's put all the values into the formula. On solving, we got our answer as 211, which is the mean daily expenditure on food by that locality, which is 211. Okay. If you observe the range is from 100 to 350. So our mean is between these range, that is 211. If the mean exceed the upper range or it is below the lower range, then something is wrong with our answer. Got it? That is the answer 211. We have done with this question. So this is the question number 7. Firstly, let's observe the question. In this question, the data related to the concentration of SO2 is given. Also, the frequency is given. If you refer the question, it is given the data was collected for 30 localities. It means here frequency is the localities. For example, in the 4 localities, the concentration of SO2, the gas, it is 0.00 to 0.04. So here frequency is the locality. Next, in 9 localities, the level of the SO2, the concentration of SO2, it is 0.04 to 0.08. Similarly, the other localities range is given. And in this question, we have to find the mean concentration of SO2 in the air. Very simple question. Let's approach the question. Here frequency is given, so it is Fi. And what is the next step? The next step is to calculate the Xi, that is the observation. And how we do so? We take the midpoint of the range. Here if you observe the range, the first range 0 to 0.04, the midpoint it is 0.02. You can also use the formula, the lower range plus upper range upon 2, it will give 0.02. Similarly, we will find the midpoint of the next range, which is 0.06. Further, it is 0.10. Next, it is 0.14, then 0.18 and 0.22. All these values of xi are the midpoint of the range. We can use the formula, that is lower range plus upper range upon 2, or we can simply look and locate the midpoint of the range. It is up to you. So we got xi. What is next step? We are having two options, either to go with the direct method or go to the next method, which is the assumed mean method. And what is the criteria? The criteria is the simplicity of the calculation. If the calculation is tough in the direct mean method, we go to the next method. But here if you observe, the values of Fi and Xi are very small. So here the calculation will be simple. So we will go with the first method, that is the direct method. Let's see. In this we have to calculate Fi into Xi. That is, we have to multiply all the rows of Fi and Xi. Let's take the first row. 4 into 0.02, it is 0.08. Next, 9 into 0.06, it is 0.54. Similarly, we will multiply all the Fi's with the Xi's. We got 0.90, 0.28, 0.72 and 0.44. Very simple. Okay. Further, this is the formula of the direct mean method, in which we have to use the sum of Fi into Xi. So let's add all the values of Fi into Xi. We got 2.96. Further, let's also calculate sigma of Fi, that is addition of all the values of Fi, which is 30. You can add or you can also refer the question, in which the number of localities are given as 30. So the sum of all the frequencies or the localities, it will be 30. Got it? No need to do the addition, just refer the question, it will be fast. So we got all the values. Let's directly apply the formula. Let's do the calculation. On solving, we got the answer as 0.0986. So that is the answer. The mean concentration of SO2 in the air is 0.0986 ppm. That is a unit. So we have done with this question. Let's move to next question. So this is the question. Firstly, let's observe the question. Observing the question is very important. Okay. This question is slightly different as compared to the other questions we have done. So pay some special attention to this question. So firstly, let's observe the question. In this question, a data is given related to the number of absentees of the student. In the first row, the number of days or the number of absent days is given, and in the second row, we are having the number of students. For example, if you talk about this column, 11 students are absent from 0 to 6 days. Next, the 10 students are absent in the range of 6 to 10 days. On the extreme right, only one student who is absent from 38 to 40 days, which is, I think, extremely large, maybe having some circumstances. Okay, so this observing of the question is very important. Further, if you observe the range, the first step in these type of questions or the question related to mean is observing the range. In the previous question, I think question number 4 or 5, we have observed that we are having the gap between the ranges. So what we have done, we have increased and decreased the range. In this question, we are having something unusual with our range. So firstly, let's identify what is this unusual with our range. But before that, let's convert all the rows to the column. This is important so that we can visualize the question and compare it with all the previous questions. Here this is the rows and this is the number of students, which is the frequency. Here if you observe all the ranges are not symmetrical. That is, the range, the upper range to lower range is not same for all the rows. From 0 to 6 we are having total 6 numbers. But if you observe the second row, 6 to 10, we are having 4 numbers. Further, this fourth row, 14 to 20, we are having 6 numbers. So for each row, we are having different range. The range is varying from rows to row. So what is the effect on our calculation or our use of the formula? Think, you can pause the video and think what will this impact on our formula or how we have to change our strategy. This thinking is very important. It will give you a new dimension of thinking and it will also help you in the mid of the examination. So do not just skip this thinking part. Just pause the video, take some time and think. Okay, it will be really helpful. So pause the video. So welcome back. Hope you got the answer. What will this impact on our formula or the calculation? We are having three different methods to calculate the mean: the direct method, the assumed mean method, and the step deviation method. This difference in the range will not impact the direct method and the assumed mean method, but it will impact our step deviation method. Why? If you observe the method or the formula of the step deviation method, we are having h, which is the class size. And what is the class size? Class size is the difference in the range. The upper range minus lower range will give us the class size. Class size in the first row it is 6. The class size in the second row it is 4. In the third row it is again 4. In the fourth row it is 6. So basically our class size, that is h, it is varying from rows to row. So we are not having the common class size, which is the value of h. So this formula, this method of step deviation method we cannot use because we are not having the same value of h. We cannot apply the formula, we cannot apply this method. Got it? But we are open to use the direct method as well as we are open to use the assumed mean method. The answer using both the method will be same. Got it? So this is the understanding that you should have. Okay? So whenever you are having the question related to mean, observing the range is very important. It will give you the next step that you have to take down. So let's take this question. The first column it is range. The second column we are having the number of students, which is the frequency. So what is the next step? Our next step is to calculate xi. And how we calculate xi? We find the midpoint of the range. 0 to 6, our first row, the midpoint it will be 3. By looking at the range, you can identify the midpoint is 3, or you can use the formula, the lower range plus upper range upon 2, 0 plus 6 upon 2, it is 3. Similarly, 6 to 10, 6 plus 10 upon 2, it is 8. 10 to 14, the midpoint it is 12. 14 to 20, the midpoint it is 7. Further 24, 33 and 39. You can use the formula or you can directly identify the midpoint. Got it? No issue? Next step. Now we are having two options, either to go with the direct method or we can go with the assumed mean method. It is up to you whichever method you find convenient you can use, the answer will remain the same. Okay, here we will go with the direct method in which we have to calculate fi into xi. So let's add one more column, fi into xi. Let's multiply fi and xi. 11 into 3 it is 33, 10 into 8 it is 80, 7 into 12 it is 84. Similarly, we got 68, 96, 99 and 39. What we have done, we have simply multiplied fi and xi for all the rows. Let's add all the values of fi into xi. We got sigma fi xi as 499. Also, let's add all the values of fi, which is 40. The 40 number of students, the data is already given in the question. So let's apply the formula of the direct method. Let's put the value, let's solve it. We got the mean as 12.48. That is the answer. The mean number of days a student was absent is 12.48 days. So we have done with this question. Let's move to next question. So this is the question. Our first step, we will observe the question. In this question, the data related to the literacy rate is given for 35 cities. In the first row, we are having the literacy rate, which is in percentage. The second row, we are having number of cities. For example, 3 cities are having the literacy rate in the range from 45% to 55%, which is very, very low, really. On the extreme right hand side, we are having 3 cities which are having the range of the literacy rate from 85 to 95, which is really, really good. Understand this figure. On the extreme right, we are having good cities in which the literacy rate is very high. On the extreme left, we are having the cities where the literacy rate needs to be upgraded. So understanding the observations from the practical point is very important. It will give you idea what we are about to do in this question. Okay. In this question, we have to find the mean literacy rate. So let's take down the question. Our first step, let's convert all the rows to columns. We got our standard table. This is the range and the number of cities is the frequency. Our next step, we will find xi, that is the observation. And how we do that? We find the midpoint of the range. First row 45 to 55, the midpoint is 50. You can directly identify the midpoint, or you can use the formula, the lower range plus upper range upon 2. This will give our xi as 50. Second row, the midpoint it is 60. Third row, the midpoint it is 70. Next it is 80 and 90. So we got the value of xi. Now we are having two options. Either we can use the direct method or we can go to the assumed mean method. It depends upon the calculation. Is it tough or easy? If you observe the calculation is not so tough, we can apply the direct method, but still we will go to the assumed mean method. Okay. Note that you can use any of the method, the answer will not change. Just to show you the different method, we are going with the assumed mean method, the next method. And what we do in this, we find deviation. And how we find deviation? We find the assumed mean, which is generally the midpoint of the observation, which is xi. Here the midpoint it is 70. So we take the assumed mean, which is a as 70, and we subtract this assumed mean from all the values of the observation to get the deviation. Okay. The first row 50 minus 70, it is minus 20. Next it is 60 minus 70, which is minus 10. Similarly 0, 10 and 20. We got the value of di. Again we are having two options, either to go with the assumed mean method or the step deviation method. How we decide? We see the value of the class size, which is h. How we find the class size? Class size is upper limit minus lower limit of all the rows. Like 55 minus 45, it is 10. So we got the value of the class size, that is h, as 10. Similarly, in all the rows, the upper limit minus lower limit, it is 10. Like 65 minus 55, it is 10. 75 minus 65, it is 10. So we got h is equal to 10. Now we check whether we can divide the values of the deviation with the class size or not. If we are able to divide, then we will go with the next method, else we will not go to the next method. Let's see whether we can divide all these values of the deviation with 10. Yes, we can. We can easily divide all the values of the deviation with 10. So we will go to the next method, that is the step deviation method. Got it? So let's approach the step deviation method. What we do in the step deviation method? We find the value of ui. How we do that? We divide the value of the deviation with the class size, which is 10. So let's divide all the values of the deviation with 10. We got -2, -1, 0, 1 and 2. We got very simplified value in UI like 1, 2, 0, -1 and -2. It will help us in easing the calculation. That's why we have gone with the step deviation method, so that our calculation will become easy. Let's add one more column fi into ui. Let's multiply frequency with ui. 3 into -2, it is -6. 10 into -1, it is -10. Similarly 0, 8 and 6. What we have done, we have simply multiplied fi with ui. Further, let's add all the value of fi and ui to get sigma fi into ui, which is -2. Similarly, what is the addition of all the frequencies? It will be 35. No need to do the addition, just refer the question. It is given 35 cities. So we got sigma fi is equal to 35. Let's use the formula of step deviation method. Here A, the assumed mean, it is 70. Class size h is equal to 10. Let's put all the values. Let's solve it. We got our answer, that is mean literacy rate is 69.43%. That is the answer. Okay. One thing, the practical thing that you should note is that we got the mean value as 70%, approximately 70%. It does not mean the complete literacy rate of all the cities will become 70%. Still, many cities are having the literacy rate in the range of 45 to 55%, and many cities still have the literacy rate in the range of 85 to 95%. So the variation will always be there. Mean is just symbolizing the midpoint or the in between the mean point of the complete literacy rate of all the cities. So whenever you got this type of situations in actual life, you should understand that mean percentage just denote the midpoint or the mean value. It does not mean the complete cities or all the values are having that value. Just for your understanding what is the practical significance that you are doing. Got it? So we have done with this question. So students, we have done with this lecture. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. If so, please like, subscribe and share this lecture. And also refer the description for other lectures of this chapter and also the other chapters for class 10th math students. Refer the link in the description. You will get the various resources. And best of luck for the exam you are preparing. Bye for now and have a good day. Bye bye.